I used to think that if a girl suddenly lost interest in me, it was entirely because of my face or my bank account. Me staring blankly at my phone, reading a dry one-word text from someone who was absolutely obsessed with me just a week ago. I would replay the entire date in my head, desperately trying to figure out what went wrong. I told myself she just wasn't ready for a relationship, or that she found someone taller, richer, or better looking. That was the most expensive lie I ever believed. I missed out on so many incredible connections because I was blaming my genetics instead of my behavior. Because the research doesn't say attraction is just about how you look. What if that popular dating advice is completely backwards? What if you are actively, subconsciously killing her attraction with tiny, invisible behavioral mistakes? I went deep on this, read the research, studied evolutionary psychology, and looked into why humans suddenly lose interest in each other. And what I found changed how I read every single interaction going forward. Because here is the ridiculous truth most guys never hear. Your jawline gets you in the door, but your psychology keeps you in the room. Psychological studies have shown that long-term attractiveness is almost entirely based on how you make someone feel, and most guys are making 7 specific, highly destructive mistakes that completely obliterate feelings of trust, safety, and desire. You just need to know what to stop doing. So, let's get into it. Mistake 1. Neediness and desperation. Here is something that blew my mind when I first read the research. This is arguably the single biggest attraction killer on the planet. The absolute fastest way to make someone dry up like the Sahara Desert is to constantly seek their validation. You cling to them emotionally. You overinvest way too quickly. You bend over backwards trying to please everyone in the room just so they will like you. You think you are being communicative and sweet, but psychology tells a completely different story. Behavioral research consistently shows that humans are hypersensitive to perceived social value. When you instantly reply to every single text, constantly ask, "Are we okay?" and have absolutely zero personal boundaries, you are indirectly screaming a massive red flag. You are signaling, "I have very few options and incredibly low self-worth." Studies on mate selection prove that confidence biologically increases attractiveness, while excessive neediness significantly reduces it. If you make her the entire center of your universe on day 3, she won't feel flattered. She will feel suffocated. Again, pure psychology. Mistake 2. Poor emotional control. This one feels like a personal attack because we have all been there. Emotions are not the problem here. Emotional instability is. Getting weirdly passive-aggressive because she took 3 hours to text back. Throwing a mini tantrum when a restaurant reservation gets messed up. Or reacting with extreme impulsive jealousy when she talks to a coworker. You tell yourself you are just passionate or protective, but from an evolutionary standpoint, your explosive anger signals massive danger. Psychologically, an unpredictable guy feels unsafe and potentially threatening. Research on personality and relationships shows that emotional stability is one of the most attractive traits for long-term attraction. A guy who completely loses his mind in traffic is biologically perceived as a threat, not a protector. Here is the important distinction. Showing emotions does not equal being emotionally unstable. A calm man who can openly and maturely talk about his feelings is instantly perceived as far more magnetic than a guy who punches a wall. Mistake 3. The arrogance illusion. This is especially fascinating, and it trips up a lot of young guys. Research shows that highly narcissistic, arrogant men actually crush it in the short term. Their dominance, their social boldness, and their wild charisma pull people in fast. But it is a ticking time bomb, because what starts out looking like extreme confidence quickly turns into complete emotional coldness. Why do they become highly unattractive later? Because of a total lack of empathy. They act superior. They manipulate. They become entirely self-centered. Long-term attraction is heavily connected to emotional safety. People are biologically drawn to those who make them feel seen, respected, and emotionally safe. Arrogance destroys exactly that. If you are constantly bragging about how great you are, but you cannot listen to her talk about her bad day for 5 minutes, you become exhausting. You become a chore, and nobody wants to date a chore. Mistake 4. Neglecting your biological baseline. This one is deeply rooted in evolutionary psychology. You do not need to look like a fitness model or have perfect genetics to be highly attractive, but attraction research shows that the human brain strongly, instinctively responds to signals of health, hygiene, vitality, and energy. We are talking about the absolute basic: skin, smell, teeth, posture, and overall grooming. Interestingly, many guys massively underestimate this. They complain about their height or their face while wearing a wrinkled shirt that smells like old gym socks. Often, traits that you completely control are vastly more attractive than perfect genetics. Good sleep, Basic fitness, clean clothes that actually fit your body, and a pleasant smell are massive psychological green lights, because neglecting yourself sends a very loud, subconscious message. It signals low self-respect, a lack of self-control, and incredibly poor social awareness. And if you don't respect yourself enough to take a shower and stand up straight, why should anyone else respect you? Mistake 5. The intense interview. This one hits different when you finally realize you are doing it. So many guys think, I need to sound highly intelligent, mysterious, or deep, so they sit there on a date, completely stiff, avoiding warm eye contact, and using a monotone voice. They only talk about themselves, or worse, they ask relentless, logical questions like they are interrogating a suspect. They analyze every single word instead of actually connecting. But research on social bonding consistently shows that likability does not develop through perfect, logical arguments. It develops through ease, through social confidence, humor, emotional warmth, and a relaxed interaction. If you treat a date like a strict corporate job interview, you kill the vibe instantly. People rarely fall for a perfect resume. They respond to the emotional experience and the atmosphere you create. Mistake 6. Chronic negativity. Constant cynicism is extremely unattractive. This includes the endless complaining, the heavy victim mentality, the bitter sarcasm, and the chronic criticism. If you are the guy who hates every popular movie, complains about the weather, whines about the restaurant lighting, and thinks the entire world is actively plotting against him, you are actively repelling people. Psychologists call these people emotional vampires. They literally suck the dopamine right out of the room. Research on social perception shows that people naturally, biologically avoid emotionally draining individuals over time. Why? Because emotions are incredibly contagious. If someone constantly appears frustrated, bitter, jealous, or pessimistic, the brain literally starts associating that person with stress, and stress violently kills attraction. Nobody wants to spend their free time hanging around a human black hole. Mistake 7. The aimless drifter. This is a huge one. You do not need to be a millionaire with a super yacht, but you do need to have a direction. Men are often perceived as highly attractive when they have goals, pursue meaningful interests, and possess an inner drive. Most importantly, they do not center their entire life around dating or seeking approval. Why? Because purpose is attractive. People are drawn to individuals who seem focused, energized, internally motivated, and independent. Unattractive traits include chronic passivity, complete aimlessness, and a total dependence on external validation. This does not mean you need to be rich, but a man with direction, purpose, and personal momentum is always perceived as far more attractive than someone with zero internal movement. If your only goal in life is to get her to text you back, you have already lost. Final truth. Here is the truth I needed someone to tell me years ago. If you recognize these harsh patterns in your own life right now, it can feel like a heavy punch to the gut, but you can completely let go of the exhausting, miserable idea that you need flawless genetics to be loved. You don't have to win the biological lottery to win the game. Research repeatedly shows that long-term attractiveness depends less on a perfect jawline and far more on emotional stability, social intelligence, self-respect, and empathy. People are drawn to people who make them feel safe, alive, relaxed, and emotionally understood. And almost every single mistake on this list destroys exactly that feeling. When you stop twisting yourself into knots, trying to act impressive, and start fixing your behavioral baselines, your entire energy changes. You stop acting out of desperation, and you start operating from quiet confidence. You don't beat yourself up anymore. You don't blame the world. You just quietly, consistently level up.